Well, firstly, I want to thank Gloria Chen, our champion in Shanghai. I want to thank Vincent Pardieu and the honored speakers. And most of all, I want to thank our audience who sacrificed their precious time to come and listen to us. I'm very happy to be here tonight because we have a very unique and rare occasion. And we have a very capable speaker, Vincent Pardieu. Vincent and I go back about 20 years of friendship, and we have been going to Burma and to different mines and to be learning from each other. And as a result, I think he's one of the most qualified people in the world to talk about this subject. Vincent is not only a passionate gemologist, he's a specialist field gemologist. And what's very unique about this person is that he is very devoted to what he does. And he also likes to share his knowledge and experience, which is a very rare thing in our business. So I think we're all very lucky to have him here tonight and to listen to his fascinating story about this wonderful gemstone is one of my favorite, and I know that it is also Vincent's favorite stone. And hopefully our friends, our audience can appreciate this stone a little more if you understand the valuation and the history and how unique the stone is. Thank you very much, Vincent. This is your time. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. So thanks, Henry, and thanks, AIGS, to have invited me to participate to this talk and have the opportunity to speak with basically the Chinese public. So I hope that everybody will enjoy this talk. And I really want to thank one person in particular, which is Henry, because he said a lot of nice things about me, but I can tell you that without him, I will not be here today because he was my first master and I learned a lot from him. So I think I learned more from him than he learned from me. You know? So Henry, really thanks for everything, and I hope that you will enjoy the talk that you will see tonight. Okay. So thanks everybody to be here today. I would like to thank all the audience about your presence and your attention. So today I will give a talk about Jedi Spinel, basically a quest to the origin of the ultimate red spinels. I would like to thank especially AIGS to have given me the opportunity to speak to all of you today. And of course also Henry Ho, because without him I will not be here to be able to speak about this stone, because he was really my spinel master. So the talk will be in 4 different parts. I will give first an introduction to spinels. Then I will speak about red spinel and its deposit. Then I will speak about the discovery in Mansin in 2013. And we'll finish with color grading of Jedi Spinels. So let's start with the introduction. So from the antiquity to the end of the Middle Age, the trade between Asia and Europe was mainly a trade by land using a network known as the Silk Road. So gem deposits along the Silk Road were able to find good market for their gems. Merchandise were mainly traveling by land. So the interest for the gem we know today as spinel is not something new. It started about 1,000 years ago at the time of the Silk Road, when an earthquake revealed some redstone in a mountain in Badakhshan. Yeah, Badakhshan is at the border between Tajikistan and Afghanistan. At this time, the stones were called Balas ruby, means rubies from Badakhshan. And soon they became the favorite stone of the king and emperor everywhere around the world. Like you can see on this necklace that was belonging to a Mughal emperor. One of the most famous stones is the Timor ruby from the British crown jewels. There are also some very large stones that came from this area, like this stone nearly 400 carat that was bought in China from the 17th century. So it means it went first to China, and it was bought by the Russian to put on the great imperial crown of Russia. But the most famous of all these stone is probably the Black Prince ruby of the British crown jewels. The thing about spinel is that from the antiquity to the end of the 18th century, gemstone mainly by color and origin. So all the redstone were called rubies. So these stones from the Badakhshan area were called Balas rubies. So this changed with the arrival of mineralogy as a science in 19th century, because then they changed the nomenclature of gemstones. So ruby became only the red variety of mineral corundum, and the ballast rubies became spinels. Nevertheless, we can say that thanks to the stone we call today spinel, the word ruby is very famous. So let's go to a red spinel on the deposits around the world. So the first one is Tajikistan, Afghanistan. So as you can see here, in this mountain, you have a white spot. This is where you have the spinel mine. So this area is a place where you have spinel mining for more than 1,000 years. So as you can see here, I'm standing at the entrance of the mine, and you can see the river, and the river is a border between Afghanistan on the left and Tajikistan on the right. So this is from this place that came all these historic rubies. Now, most of the stone from the current production of this place have a kind of a cherry-like color. So when the stones are small, they look like pinkish, but when they get dark, when they get large, they get more red. You can see here a stone, a spinel that is more than 50 carat, and it starts to achieve a good red. The reason is simple, is the longer the light travels inside the stone, the more saturated and the more red will be the stone. So in Tajikistan, small stones are pink and very big stones can be red. Now, the second place that produced a lot of spinel historically is Myanmar, which was called the Burma in the past. So Mogok is also is the main center for ruby and spinel production in Myanmar, and it produced stone for nearly 1,000 years. So it's a very lively place with a deep culture, and everything there in Mogok, it's about the gemstone trade. Here are some very fine spinel from Mogok. You can see that in Mogok, you can have some small stones that are very deep red, like this 5 carat stone. Now you can see next to this stone, you have also this one that is one of my favorite. It's a natural crystal of spinel with a design like a David star. Now one thing interesting is that as you say, the name from ruby and spinel, created a kind of confusion, and we can see the confusion is still sometime ongoing. In that report from Dr. Gubelin from the 1946, we can see that Dr. Gubelin was still calling the stone ruby spinel, but now everybody calls the stone spinels. So 20 years ago, I went to Myanmar to study gemology. I wanted to study rubies, and I studied.
Sorry, Vincent, could you please show up one more time? The Gubelin report, 1946. Yeah.
At this time, people like Dr. Gubelin were still calling the stone ruby spinel. So, as I said, 20 years ago, I went to Burma in order to study gemology. I went to study with a Burmese gem merchant called Uchatang, and I wanted mainly to study rubies. But one day, there was a gem merchant from Bangkok called Hemi Englisher who came, and he showed me something incredible. In his hand, he had some crystals that were so bright that I could not believe. They were hot pink spinel from a new place called Namya, which is about 1 day traveling in the north of Mogok. About 1 year later, I was able to go with Hemi and another merchant called Tetemilis. I was able to go to visit Namya. That was my very first field expedition. Since then, I have visited, I've been to about 150 expeditions, but I will all the time remember this one because that was my first one. There was no road, so we had to go, for example, with an elephant. So mining was was just starting at this time. The stones were found in a secondary deposit, so the people were not mining in hard rock, they were just washing the gravel. There were quite big mines like this one, but there was also small mine like this one. And there was also mechanized mine like this one. It was quite easy for the Burmese to bring the machine because actually Namya is not very far from the jade mine in Pakant. So just after that, I returned in Bangkok and I met with Henry Ho. And after several discussions, Henry asked me to find for him some hot pink spinel from the new deposit in Namya. So I became his student and at the same time his buyer. So the goal that he gave me is he wanted me to find for him a 10 carat hot pink spinel from that place. I have to say that I failed. I never found a 10 carat spinel from that place that was fitting the taste for Henry. And so far I don't have seen anyone. So with Henry, I had 12 visits to Myanmar. We spent a lot of time visiting market, mining areas, and making friends. And Henry taught me about how to buy gem and understand their quality. So in order to buy stone, efficiently, we were using some codes. So we were needing a code in order for Henry to tell me that, this type of stone was the type of stone that he was interested in. But the important thing was that the Burmese people around us, all the people around, should not understand what we were speaking about. So at this time, there was a Star Wars movie going out. So we decided to use the word Jedi. Yeah, so that's the way we started to speak about Jedi Spinel. So basically, Jedi was just the code to say that the stone was looking okay for Henry. So these are some of the hot pink stone from Namya. At this time, when we were in the market, everybody was, most of the stones that we were interested in were coming from Namya, because Namya was very famous. But we were suspecting that some of the stones were also coming from Mogok, but we had no proof. So then, after working with Henry, I started to visit all the spinel deposits around the world. I wanted to find out if I could find also some Jedi spinel in other places. So I went to Vietnam. In Vietnam, there is a place called Kum Troy, which is only dedicated to spinel mining. It's in a Lukian district. So in this place, spinel are found in marble associated with green pagasite. It can produce very nice red spinels. You have also some spinels that are found there under the paddy field. But I never found any red spinel that was matching the Jedi spinel that I found in Burma. Now, we found some very nice bright blue spinel in Lukian. So this stone was the equivalent of a Jedi spinel, but in blue. These stones were so fluorescent that they were even more blue than the Windex liquid for washing the window. So when we are going around to ask people, if they had stone, we started to show them the bottle of Windex liquid in order to tell them which color we wanted to get. So we call them Windex color. So these are some of the stones that you can get in Vietnam, and now they are very popular now. The next place I went was Tanzania. Because in 2007 in Tanzania, there was a very big crystal of spinel that was discovered, about 52 kilograms. Some of the parts of this crystal were gem quality. And in 2008, at a Basel Fair in Switzerland, you had many stones that were cut from this big crystal that really put spinel, in a high demand. These two stones in particular were clean and more than 30 carat. Very beautiful color, but a little bit orange, and not as bright as a Jedi spinel from Burma. So this was the mine in Tanzania, at near Mahenge. The spinels there are found also in marble. You can have some beautiful clean stone, sometimes up to 20 or 30 carat. Here is a fine example about 10 to 15 carat. So these were the major spinel deposits around the world. There are some other smaller deposits in Pakistan, in Sri Lanka, in Kenya, in Mozambique, and in Madagascar. But they don't produce red spinel of a quality that is, touching the one from Tajikistan, Afghanistan, Myanmar, Vietnam, or Tanzania. So the interesting fact is that so far, I saw many beautiful stones in places like Vietnam, Tanzania, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, and other places. I saw many beautiful spinels. But I never found outside of Myanmar any stone that I truly will qualify as Jedi, except maybe for the bright blue spinel from Vietnam that we call Windex, that I can say are maybe the equivalent of in blue of the Burmese Jedi. But who knows, maybe one of these days some people will find in another place around the world some stone that will be all as fluorescent and as bright as the Burmese Jedis. I learned in Gemology that you have to expect the unexpected. There is all the time something new coming. So now let's go to speak about something new coming. In 2013, there was something very interesting happening in Myanmar. So Myanmar, the access to Mogok was not allowed for foreigners from 2005 to 2013. So for nearly 10 years, I had no idea about what was going on. In 2013, Mogok opened again. So I could not go because I broke my arm in Vietnam visiting a ruby mine. But one of my friends went there as soon as Mogok opened, and he came back telling me that he found a place that was producing some stone that were as good and as beautiful as the stone from Namya. That friend was a young Canadian called Lupia Brill, and he told me that he visited a place called Mansin that was producing incredible spinels. So I went with Lupia as soon as I recovered, and we went together to that place, Mansin, that is located in the east of Mogok. So we could see in the market many incredible stones. As you can see here, they are incredibly fluorescent, and they also have a very nice shape. You had some stones that were quite big and clean, like these stones that are over 3 carat. Some stones were pink, but many of the stones were red. So we met in Mogok an old friend. His name was Kojem, and he was one of the suppliers that I had when I was working with Henry in the early 2000s. So people in Mogok called him the Spinel King. So he explained me and showed me the difference between the spinel from Mansin and the spinel from Mogok. He showed me the difference between the spinel from Namya and the spinel from Mogok. Sorry. So you can see on the right, the spinel from Namya are rounded, but the spinel from Mogok and from Mansin are usually fine crystals. On the overall, the spinel from Mansin usually are a bit more red, and Namya is more pink. So these are probably two of the best stones I have seen. They were about 8 carat each. Very beautiful stones that looks much better in real than on this photograph. But as you see, they are not 10 carat. So that was not even, the task that Henry assigned to me to find him a 10 carat stone. So thanks to my friend in Mogok, I went to meet the people who were mining at Mansin. It was a Gurkha family with Mr. Usitu and his father and his mother. So we went to the mine because at this time I was working for GA and my job was to collect a reference sample from the mine. So these are the reference samples I collected for the GA reference collection. So back from that expedition, I wrote an article for Gem and Gemology about hunting for Jedi Spinels in Mogok. So it was published in spring 2014. And because of that article, the name Jedi Spinels started to be used commonly in the trade, and mainly in China. Before that, it was only my secret code with Henry. But after that, people started to use the word Jedi. So in last year, AIGS asked me to do a short video with Henry to explain how we came with that name. And I think you will see the video in a few minutes. So let's go for the last part. I'm speaking about color grading for Jedi Spinels. So what is truly a Jedi Spinel? The original definition is very simple. It is a spinel that will make my boss Henry Ho smile, even when he is not supposed to smile. So for us, Jedi was more than a color grade. Actually, it was a quality grade. To be a Jedi, a spinel should be bright and highly fluorescent, because this is Henry's personal taste. He likes stone to be bright and highly fluorescent. The color could be hot pink or red, no problem. Regarding clarity, Henry didn't like too much to have stone with a visible inclusion like fracture, black spot. So he wanted the stone to be clean. And Henry also liked stone to be well cut and to have a good shape. So it was very challenging for me to find him his Jedi stone. And don't forget that Henry also wanted the stone to be 10 carat. So I never succeeded. But let me tell you a little bit about the fluorescence. If you have enough experience, you can see just with your eye if a stone is fluorescent or not. But actually, using long wave UV and short wave UV, you can have some help. So these are some stones from AIGS collection that I put aside with my reference stone for Jedi Spinel. You see in the lower part, you have a stone with VP. That's my master stone. So this is my master stone. Now you can see regarding the fluorescence, there are these 4 stones, number 66 to 69, that are matching my reference stone in both short wave and long wave. Now you have some other stone, like this one, number 54, 58, 59, 60, 61, 64, 65, that are not really matching, but they are close by. So I would say that any stone that is better than this 54, 58, 59, 60, 61, 64, 65 could qualify as a Jedi. If you take a Jedi as a color grade or a fluorescence grade. So, but with a naked eye, when you are in the field, actually, when you compare stone, side by side, there is a way to find out also. So you can see the stone on the left are bright fluorescent, and the stone on the right are darker. On the right, you have deep red stone that have, they are beautiful stone, but deep red. Some people, especially old people, like a lot this color. But on the left side, you have some stones that are brighter, more fluorescent. And it seems that these stones are very appealing to young people and people like Henry. So that's the way, you have to look for bright stone, very fluorescent, and that was the task. They are not easy to find, they are very rare, but for me, they are probably, the most beautiful, because I remember about my first trip in Myanmar and also my first job, and that was a very nice period of my life. So this stone will be all the time very special to me, as Henry say, and the way it is. Thanks for your attention.
Okay. So first of all, I would like to thank AIGS, BKK, and Shanghai colleagues for their cooperation in this research project. And we have spinel sample from Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Tanzania, and Vietnam, over 4,000 samples, and still looking for more samples from Namya and Mansin as much as possible to build up spinel database for geographic origin determination. Here is the methodology that we use for origin determination study. Physical property, for example, the apparent light, color, brightness. Namya top left, more pinkish, and Mansin right. Bottom left. Sorry, bottom left.
Okay. This is Namya, right?
Namya and Mansin. Internal inclusion. This inclusion is quite typical found in our research. The top left and right is from Namya and Mansin, and the bottom is from Moko. And from Vincent paper in 2014, he mentioned that not often found in spinel from other source. Next, UV. The UV spectrum are representative of spinel color, more red, more chromium. Chemical composition. Blue area is Tanzania spinel. Green flame is Myanmar. You will see two sets of information from Namya and Mansin sample. It looks separate. So from our preliminary study, chemical composition is a very useful tool for determining the small origin of spinel.